welcome to Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you like this video, please push like and share it with your family, friends, neighbors, enemies, etc. Okay, this is a story about what it's like inside ADX from somebody who was there. The guy's name was Matt Hale. If you do not know who Matt Hale is, he's currently incarcerated. If he was not, he would be a super powerful force in the white supremacy movement or separatist movement. Still is kind of. He is for sure. Real smart guy, charismatic, high IQ, and I will say that he can really suck people in. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he has the power of persuasion down for sure. Not me, but I've seen him in action. Anyway, Matt Hale, I'm going to say what he's convicted of. So basically, in 2000, a religious group in Oregon called the Church of the Creator sued Matt Hale's organization, the World Church of the Creator, for trademark infringement. Hale sued. The lawsuit went up in front of a judge by the name of Joan Lefkow, and ultimately she ruled against Hale, okay? As a result, he wanted to kill her, so the story goes. That's what he's convicted of. That wouldn't be Matt's version, but I'm just going by what's all over the internet. On January 8, 2003, Hale was arrested, charged with soliciting an undercover Federal Bureau of Investigation informant named Tony Evola to kill the judge, Lefkow. The FBI sent Evola to join the World Church of the Creator after Hale gave a speech at the funeral of Benjamin Nathaniel Smith. Anyway, so Hale got arrested for conspiracy. Let's see. The United States wish somebody hadn't done it. Nonviolent resistance. Head of security. Yeah, solicitation of undercover. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder or attempt murder. Okay, so Lefkow's mother and husband, blah, blah, blah. Hale was sentenced. On April 6, 2005, Hale was sentenced to a 40-year prison term exactly 1 year after the trial began for attempting to solicit Lefkow's murder. Okay, so here's what happened. From there, Hale was transferred to the ADX in Florence, Colorado. That is America's most secure prison, allegedly or supposedly, whatever. We don't get too many people that come out of there and talk about it. There is. I mean, I've seen some people. As a matter of fact, the production company that came to my house and did an interview with me for my take on time, what it was like inside USP Leavenworth, is also going to do a segment about ADX, and they have some people that were there that are going to talk to them on camera. Anyway, Matt Hale was in ADX for 10, 11 years, and he was sent straight from the ADX to FCI Terre Haute, where I was. Typically, when somebody leaves Terre Haute, they don't send them from a maximum security or supermax to a medium security facility. The reason they did this was Hale was because of his power and influence. They did not want a chance putting him in a maximum or a high security USP with all the white gang members that they have now, all the white guys. He had the potential to radicalize too many people. He had the literature, the white knowledge, all that stuff. And a lot of those guys could have been really easily influenced, and he could have created a bunch of people. White supremacist balls, whatever you want to say. Like I said, the guy has a power of persuasion. I enjoyed talking to Matt. I did a video where he was told that he made allegations that I snitched on him and I was the reason he left. That's a different story, and I've got paperwork on that, and I'll do in the end. Anyway, this is an interview that I was attempting to do for Vice. I was writing for Vice back then, and after I did this interview with Matt, and it was a question and answer where I wrote out my questions and he wrote out his answers, and then I typed them all up and I attempted to send them out via Core Links, which is the Federal Bureau of Prisons system that allows inmates to email stuff to a approved contact. I was sending it out to editor of Vice or a friend that was writing with me, whatever, And it got stopped. It got stopped by the counterterrorism unit in Virginia. They have algorithms, so if you say like Matt Hale, they automatically pick up, in an email, they automatically pick up your stuff. Anyway, they said they stopped it because Matt was talking about certain individuals inside ADX. So what I'm gonna do right now is, I have his whole statement, but I'm gonna go ahead and still leave out, it's not much, it's just some things he said about a couple terrorists. I'm just going to leave it out because I don't want to get him in any trouble, even though I've not heard from him and he still has not apologized, but I'll get to that in a little while. All right, so this is about ADX from the words of Matt Hale. This is me asking the questions and then him answering. I know some people don't like the reading stuff, and I get it. I'll read this one clearer, right, because I did it. But let me tell you what's coming. In the next day or so, you're going to hear this. That is a guy by the name of Joshua Goldberg. Joshua Goldberg is in prison. He's one of the most successful internet trolls that we've had. He's I'll talk about Josh anyway. So I'm going to be doing that, and I don't know how to do that video. Just push and just sit here and go. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. Vice. Me in 2005. I'm talking to Hale. You were sent to ADX. Describe your intake experience and your thoughts surrounding it. And just to be clear, when answering this question and all others, let's be mindful about the safety and security of the ADX, as well as respect the privacy of staff and inmates there. Matt, as your readers know, I was convicted of supposedly having solicited the murder of a federal judge in 2004. However, the simple fact of the matter is that I'm an innocent man, and there's absolutely no evidence that any such solicitation occurred. In any case, getting back to your question, ADX was certainly a bit intimidating at first, especially since I was initially housed in H unit with the convicted terrorist. I was actually the first white prisoner to be housed there, and it was certainly a bit unsettling to hear Arabic being spoken all day and to see the look on the guards' faces. What in the hell are you doing here? That's the guards' look on their faces to Hale. That said, I was well treated by general staff as well as my fellow prisoners. I was just hopeful that somebody sooner or later would come to their senses and realize that I didn't belong there or anywhere else that is a terrorist concern. Me. How long did it take you to get adjusted to daily life inside of the ADX? Matt, I would say a couple months. Actually, ADX was a lot better than MCC Chicago, where I came from. So ADX was actually an improvement over what I had experienced the 2 years before my arrest. We had television in our cells, for example. That said, I no longer had classical music when I arrived at ADX. I'm a classically trained violinist, so classical music is important to me. And I certainly felt at loss profoundly. Chicago has great classical music radio stations. You see, I was under so-called special administrative measures at the time I arrived at ADX, and those under SAMS were not allowed any access to radio stations, including the great classical music station based in Colorado Springs. I had to wait another year before I would happily be allowed to access the station. Describe a typical day inside of the ADX. ADX is actually a place that is ideal for those who enjoy peace and quiet and not mind being alone with their own thoughts. On a typical day, I would exercise in the morning, read newspapers, and watch the news in the afternoon, and read books or work on my own books in the evening, as well as write letters. Me. For what reason would a prisoner leave their cell, and how many hours a day or a week are you allowed outside of your cell? Prisoners leave their cells for recreation 5 times a day, outside and in. Prisoners leave their cells for recreation 5 days a week for a total of 10 hours a week. They can also leave their cells in order to use the law library. Each range has its own computer. In addition, prisoners leave their cells for haircuts every few months, as well as to have prearranged visits with doctors and dentists. Explain the best and worst things about the ADX. The best thing is the peace and quiet, which in my case enabled me to write 2 books, hundreds of letters, and generally devote myself to contemplation. The worst thing is that you basically lose all concept of normal human interaction and are deprived of the beauty of the natural world. Are there units or step-down stages that allow some prisoners more freedom than others? If so, who or what behavior determines which inmate are allowed more freedom? Matt. As a matter of fact, H unit gradually got better over the years, I must say, and there are 2 step-down units at the ADX where prisoners are allowed more time outside of their cells and could go to lower security institution after a certain period of time if they remain free of infractions. That said, who goes to a step down seems to be really arbitrary. For years, for example, I was not allowed to step down because I'm a member of the Church of the Creator, which is silly and illegal as hell. Inmates on death row at the United States Penitentiary in Terre Haute, Indiana are allowed MP3 players, direct email access to approved contacts, full commissary privileges, including ice cream, and are allowed at least 1 hour out of their cells each day. Do inmates at the ADX receive such privileges? And I have chips in my teeth, they're coming out. I actually gasped when I read this question. No, we never had MP3 player, email access, or the ability to purchase ice cream at the ADX. We did, though, get out of our cells, or at least had the ability to, 10 hours a week, at least when I left H Unit in February of 2000. While you were in the ADX, you wrote 2 books. Tell us briefly about the books and what inspired you to write them. I have published 2 books, Ending White Slavery and The Rational Loyalist Manifesto, both available on Amazon.com. EWS is designed to end the slavery that has come over the white man's mind, and RLM is designed to unite the entire pro-white movement worldwide into one basic organization, one basic doctrine, and one basic political party. The Rational Loyalist Party, EWS, is designed to end the false guilt that has been so wrongly inculcated. Wow. INCULCATED. I didn't see that one coming. Into our white people. RLM is designed to unite one cause into an unstoppable battering ram. I was inspired to write EWS after years of watching white liberal media on my ADX television set. I was inspired to write RLM on account of the hideous divisiveness that currently plagues the white racial movement. Me. There are a lot of famous people housed in ADX. Can you share with us who you met, who you became friends with, and how you all converse with one another? I met and became friends with Robert Hansen, the supposed FBI turncoat. I met and became friends with Eric Rudolph, the Olympic Park bomber. I met Zachary Moussaoui, the 20th hijacker, who actually believed that President George Bush was going to grant him pardon before he left office. I met the shoe bomber Richard Reed, but didn't know him well. I would talk to these various well-known, that is, either outside, how I would talk to these varies. That is either outside at recreation, where we would each be in individual cases, or through the sink that we would blow out with toilet paper rolls so we could talk through them. So you talk through the vent system. Me. There was a piece published in Prison Legal News about the ADX. Care to give us your take on it? I read the piece in question and could not help but despise the prisoners named since they were so weak. ADX should not even remotely cause anybody to eat their own feces, mutilate himself, or any such degrading, disgusting conduct. I suppose the article was good as far as reporting of the facts concerned, but I am glad to say that those of us who read the article at the ADX really thought it was pathetic that the insinuation that ADX caused these people to go nuts. Obviously, the prisoners in question were weak mentally. ADX is not some kind of mental torture chamber so long as you keep your mind busy. What about mental health care providers? Are there enough psychologists, and how would you rate their overall performance? Well, so far as I know, if you ask to see a psychologist, the staff will take you out of your cell and see the psychologist. It may take a few hours, but if it's an emergency, they do seem to get there quick. Since I do not see or ask to see a psychologist, it's hard for me to rate how good they are. What about medical care in general? Fortunately, I never needed medical care during my entire 11-year tenure at ADX. However, other prisoners often complain about the wait time and general competence of the PAs. Vice. Me. I'm writing as Vice. Is there a special housing unit or a hole inside the ADX? And if so, what is the difference between that unit and the others? Matt. They just shut down the SHU at ADX, as a matter of fact. When it existed, it was a real hellhole from what I hear. I never was sent there, fortunately, so I cannot give you a first-hand account of how the cell's different from the others. Me. And finally, set the record straight for us, Matt. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about life inside of the ADX? And what would you like people to know? Matt Hale. ADX is certainly not underground, as the media often falsely reports, and we saw the sun almost on a daily basis, whether from the rec yard or from our own cells. Nor do we read our mail on a television monitor, as the rumor goes. Rather, we received our mail with our dinner trays. The mail things about ADX is security. There is no chance whatsoever of any prisoner escaping, and there is no chance of one prisoner having another prisoner except in the step. There is no chance of one prisoner, he misspelled, harming another prisoner. Oh, harming another prisoner. That's what he was trying to say. Or my typing was bad. So there's no chance of another prisoner harming another prisoner unless they're in the step down unit. If you use your brain and aren't interested in trouble, you can be okay. Of course, the time isn't easy since you are locked down in nearly all day, but at least you are the master of that time as you see fit. If you love to watch television, it's an ideal place. The two main hardships are as follows: loss of physical human contact and loss of normal sensory experiences. Those are the big things, of course, and I'm glad that I'm now at a prison where I've gotten those back. 2 months after conducting this interview, Matt Hale was placed in the hole for circumventing mail monitoring procedures. And at the time I wrote this, I said he's currently awaiting transport back to the ADX, where it is likely he will remain until he completes his 40-year prison sentence. That isn't true. He went to the ADX and now he's at a communication management unit in Marion. And let me just go ahead and finish this about Matt. Matt, while he was there, said that the warden told him that he was back there because of me, like I snitched on him or something. And Matt put something on his website saying that I did this, and I had a bunch of people writing letters. Where's all those letters? I had people writing me letters, and the letters were like, here, I'm not going to read the guy's name. I am a loyal supporter and friend of Reverend Matt Hale. I'm sure you know who Matt is. I'm asking you to please tell the truth and recant the lie that you told, which has caused Matt to be in the hole for over 5 months now for something he did not do. Matt is suffering, starving at times, and needs to be removed from the hole. Because you lied, Matt may be sent to back to Florence. The fact is, Matt emailed his mother and the press release and Terre Haute prison staff, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, Therefore, there was no reason for Matt to ask another inmate to send her that press release through regular mail since it had been emailed to her by prison staff. Correct? He's like threatening me. Matt is suffering mental stress and has food withheld from him. Stephen Julian said he cannot be put back in general population because the inmate lied is still there. That's me. That's what he said, but it wasn't. It was actually a guy that he used to play chess with. I forgot the guy's name. And he was actually in the mental health unit. And Matt was warned to stay away from those guys by Lieutenant Rigsby because he didn't want Matt molding their minds. Please tell the truth for Matt and help us get him out of the shoe immediately before his mental health deteriorates permanently. Yeah. Anyway, so here's what I did. When I found this out, I filed under Freedom of Information. And it came back the first time, denied for safety and security reasons. And this is what I said. Upon information and belief, my name and information purportedly linked to an SIS investigation of inmate Matt Hale from on or about September 1st through and including February 8th. I'm requesting copies of any and all records, reports, investigative statements, blah, 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 related to my name. Please be advised that I understand the time limits of divulging personal information, blah, blah, blah. However, so first they said, you got nothing coming, security risk. Then I filed again. And this is what a very kind gentleman by the name of Matthew Hurd, Associate Chief Administrative Appeals, I appealed it. After carefully considering your appeal, I am affirming on modified grounds BOP's action on your request. The FOIA provides for disclosure on many. Okay, so that was his slick way. I am affirming on modified grounds. So what he's saying is, you don't have to fully review that. Your appeal is designed that turns off, and your action is response. Okay, so I called and found out. Yeah, my name was in the report. Once I did, I got a hold of these people that were writing me hate mail and filed an affidavit for Matt, freeing him, saying that there's absolutely no truth. Why did they put my name in it, and that is another story for soon. Staff falsifying documents, and I'm going to show falsified documents to you guys in a soon to be video. I think tomorrow I'll do Joshua Goldberg, and then once again, just so you guys know, I'm going to be doing this. I wonder if it's any. Can you hear it?
Really have witnesses that he called to stand. He briefly called my mother to the stand at the beginning and asked her a few questions that were largely completely irrelevant.
So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's it. And by the way, Benny Geritano, coming soon. He's on here too. Already done. Take care.